None of us are as similar as we generally pretend to be, and that is one of the main reasons that neurodivergent folks often are met with discomfort. The presumption of similarity is an instinctual holdover from a period in our development as a species where most of our survival threats were zoological rather than sociological. A period of time where it was reasonable to presume that not human was unsafe and human was safe. I think we all generally agree that that is no longer true. We also have a reinforced experience of interiority of similarity based on how we use language. To the time we are using similar sounds in similar ways surrounded by things that this instinctual bias tells us are similar to us. Signifiers are the same, but the signified, not necessarily. Even if we were to take it as a predicate that the primary experience of every human being is roughly analogous to the others, which is a leap that has absolutely nightmarish implications, so please don't. Sequentiality and contextualizations of those primary experiences simply cannot be analogous in a one-to-one way between any two persons. The substrate of symbolic and experiential reflection that connects sign and signified is necessarily unique. There have been a lot of folks in the philosophy of language spaces who have argued against this, and they have done a very, very effective job at torpedoing the careers of anthropologists who found hard evidence that they were wrong. We're using the same words in roughly the same way, surrounded by beings that we have an instinctual bias toward believing are roughly similar to ourselves, but are doing so with a totally different set of invisible parameters surrounding that process. We may be playing the same game, but the way we are playing the game and what we are bringing to the game in the first place are radically different. Why do we believe that we're playing the same game? In addition to the reasons noted above, the first primary rule of that game is to agree that we are playing the same game. This, by the way, is one of the reasons that sea lioning is such an effective troll tactic. There's ample reason to believe that we are not in fact playing the same game, and there are, for that matter, social consequences, disastrous social consequences to us all pretending that we are playing the same game. Why do we continue to pretend? The prospect of total epistemological isolation is absolutely terrifying. The difference between an episode of Scooby-Doo and an absolutely soul-shattering experience of cosmic horror is that ingredient. See my prior video on disanthropocentric xenosentience. From this point of view, what is at stake in playing the game itself is meaning, period. All of it. Full stop. The concept, the experience, all of it. In terms of immediacy of experience, there are no higher stakes. Neurodivergent folks, by virtue of not recognizing the rules of the game, misunderstanding the rules of the game, or just preferring to play by a different set of rules, call that fundamental presumption, that rule number one, into question. The problem with foundational axioms is once they are questioned at all, you kind of have to question them everywhere. This sounds like some pretty high-ordered thinking, but honestly, we do a lot of that processing at an instinctive level. Conversely, this is why many of you may have already experienced that you have a very, very different dynamic interacting with people with whom you have announced yourself as neurodivergent. In other words, with whom you have already said, I am playing by different rules. At that point, your participation in the game of language does not directly call its validity into question, so much as present an alternative. Now, that's a whole other kind of existential crisis that can be provoked. But calling into question the innateness of a particular set of sociolinguistic rules is much less distressing than undercutting the concept of the legitimacy of sociolinguistic rules at all. And seriously, we're not even scratching the surface of this one yet.